It's BB and Dealey, we know you have been waiting, so here's another podcast about movies. Burn after watching.
Welcome to the Burn After Watching podcast. I'm Dan. No, I'm Dan.
I'm Alex.
I'm Borderland, and I'm joined today by our good friend Dan.
Hello.
Today we are doing I was trying to find a way to say this, but it's Sydney Sweeney. I don't actually know how to say her name. Sydney Sweeney, is that how you say it?
Sydney Sweeney.
Sweeney or Sweeney?
I think it's Sweeney.
Sweeney, but Sydney Sweeney. I'm not sure. There's so many of the Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, it's like alliteration almost, right?
And it's a trilogy. So it's a Sydney Sweeney trilogy. A Sweenology. If
that was good.
If you want to call that something. A Sweenology.
Or a Trini, you know? It's like...
yeah. A Trini.
That sounds...
I guess she kind of released 3 films in 1 year. I mean, not in 2024. Anyone But You is technically 2023. But we're going to be talking about our 3 big films that all kind of released at the same time. Anyone But You, Immaculate, and Madame Web.
Yes, sir.
Just before we get started, subscribe. Find us on YouTube podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcasts. If anyone ever used that, we're there. Obviously, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places. We are there.
Giddy up.
Giddy up. Oh, yeah. Also, by the way, we're going to just spoil the hell out of all of this movie. So if you haven't seen them and you really care, and I don't really know if you should care about any of those, to be honest. But if you do, maybe just skip to whatever you want to listen to. But we will spoil those films. So if there's some twist, we will unveil them. Okay, which one do you want to get started with? Because I don't think there's a natural order here.
Maybe we go alphabetical.
So Anyone But You?
Anyone But You. It's also 2023.
Right. Yeah, it's the oldest one, I guess. Quickly, the story, if you want to call it that. I guess it's kind of like the basic rom-com. It's just a girl and a guy. They meet in a cafe. She wants to go to the bathroom. You have to be a customer. He fakes that he's his husband. And then she gets to go to the bathroom. And they have a little meet cute. And then they hang out or kind of sleep together, I guess. But then
super vague.
For some reason, she leave his house while he's sleeping. And then he wakes up, she's gone. So he's kind of pissed. And then his friend shows up. And then they have a conversation. And because he's kind of pissed and he doesn't want to he doesn't want to be like, oh, I'm in love already after one day. He said, no, I just don't care. She's nothing. And she overhear that. And then they just mad. And then they meet again. Like somewhat of a year later or something, because
6 months or a year or something like that.
Her sister is married to one of the guy best friend, Glen Powell's best friend, who's also a girl. Yeah, and then they go to Australia because, of course, those rom-com. There's always a rich family of white people that just own a villa somewhere, like amazing. Like we all have friends that just own. It looks like an island in Australia, in like Sydney, Australia. And it's like basically like they fall in love again. That's kind of like the synopsis.
It's just, I like it. I think it's funny that it's Sydney in Australia,
but they're Australian, aren't they?
Yeah. No, I actually don't know. I don't know if GP, I'm just going to say GP for a lot of these, GPSS. But GP, he's like... blonde hair, just chiseling Adonis of a man, and SS is just like an American person. But like this movie is like pretty bad. It felt like there were moments of like them trying to be raunchy when like another part of the story is them trying to convince the rest of the party that they're together, so that SS's parents doesn't try to get her to date half Asian, her ex, Alex or whatever
Simone.
the person's Simone,
Simone,
date Simone, and then with GP, with Glen Powell, his ex-girlfriend is there somehow, and they thought it's totally normal for two exes to be on an island together, and the mom to invite the ex-boyfriend. They're trying to convince the rest of the party to not intermingle with their relations, and they pretend to be together. And there's a scene where they're on the top of a cliff, and GP's like, "This is how you grab a butt," and Sydney Sweeney's like, "No, this is how you grab a butt." And then there's a spider on him. He rips off all his clothes.
Okay, yeah, wait. That was so... so she put her hands in his underwear. And in his pants, and he's not wearing underwear. So basically she's straight up putting her hands on his butt. Yeah. And then she's like, "Oh, there's something in there." And she pulled a huge spider out of his pants. Like... we're supposed to believe that the spider went into his pants, and it was like a huge spider, and he didn't realize. That's what they're implying, right?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was on his person underneath his trunks, or it was just on him, because at one point they take it off, right? And they're basically naked. Yeah, it's like, "Anything in me?" Then he bends over and he spread eagles his butthole. And thinking somehow this spider would not get crushed by the pressure of your anus, and somehow she can find it. Like, it makes no sense.
So yeah, and also, so they are hiking a mountain, and they are a group of people, and then they basically want to send a clear signal to everyone that they're dating. So that's what they're trying to do. So they're trying to get people's attention to look at them, basically like grabbing and groping each other's, and then because the spider, it might be in his pants, he just straight up like go naked. Yeah. But the family is so, like, the group of friends is so preoccupied with a koala. Mm-hmm. But they are like 10, maybe 15 feet away. And this guy is screaming out of his lung, butt naked, that he wants a spider out. And they don't even realize or turn around. Like, basically the whole scene happened where you go full naked for like 5 minutes. But like not even a single person from the group turn around and look at them, even once. They are like obsessed with this koala.
And it must be so quiet there. Like,
yeah, of course.
Them screaming should scare the koala.
And it happens multiple times. In this big house, people are arguing or screaming at each other, and there's people like 10 feet away, and they don't even realize that it's happening.
Nothing.
Like multiple times.
I also never got the memo that groping somebody was a signal of love. Like, that just seems like extremely juvenile, to hand in pant while commando. Weird. Like, that's just weird. So hot in Australia. Like, it's just bad news bears all around.
There was also this weird vibe where Glen and Sydney are millennials. They are like in their 30s-ish, right? I think we know he's in his 30s. I think she's like late 20s, whatever. So they are our age. They are millennial. Yeah. But they kind of like have this thing where they're making fun of millennial, but they are the millennial at the same time. There's a little bit of those also boomer millennial kind of like little argument of like, you destroyed the planet, like a little bit. But mostly it's like Glen Powell referring himself as like a fuckboy, and Sydney Sweeney being like, "Oh, this is so millennial, so cringe," and people don't say cringe anymore. It's this weird tone where like they're making fun of millennial, but they also doing all the millennial thing, like all the tropes. So it's like they're making fun of themselves, but it's not self-aware that it works. It's really weird. I don't know if you saw Bodies, with Pete Davidson. It's like it's a horror film. It's more like a thriller. But they're really making fun of Gen X, but like in a great way. Like, not cringe. And I'm saying cringe apparently means that I'm old school millennial or whatever. But it's like, when adult, right, teenager, and like in film, it doesn't work at all. This is what, to me, it feels like 60-year-old people or like 40-year-old people writing millennials characters and being like, "Oh, that's what millennial," like they will call them, like Glen Powell calling himself a fuckboy and like being proud of it. Like, "Oh, I assume it." Like, who does that? Like, it makes no sense. Also, his character is so dumb. Like, he's definitely like a dumbass in this film. Like, he's just like a dumb person, but he has all this like meta fuckboy kind of like, I don't know. Like, it feels like nothing works. I don't get it.
I think there's definitely like a level of like a facade, because you addressing yourself as a fuckboy, there's probably some level of self-awareness that like what you're doing is giving off fuckboy energy. But to your point, I thought when he was like sneaking up to their conversation, he would understand what's going on. And they actually come back to this like trope twice. And it happens to Sydney Sweeney as well, where she is at least a little bit self-aware to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But like Glen Powell is like just thick as a brick. It's just like nothing is going in.
They're really trying to like, they're doing like, they play the song, what's the song? They use it for the entire film. It's the song that Glen Powell, like his happy place, whatever.
It's Natasha Bedingfield, staring at a blank page before you open up a dirty window. Let the sun illuminate the world that you're gonna find.
Okay, yeah. So like that's they use this, and at some point they play it while they're getting rescued by an helicopter from buoy. And I was like, okay, this scene kind of worked. And then I kind of catch myself saying, this kind of work, like it's kind of coming together. And I was like, but actually, no, it's just a song. They're just playing a good song. Like they're just using the song as a crutch because they know people like the song, that like it feels like the scene work, but really it's just because you're listening to a good song.
I think it's like, but that's like the turning point in the movie, right? Because they were fake being in love-ish. This traumatic event bonds them together. Yeah. And this is what's like her knowing this song was the moment that I realized, me being Powell, that this is the person for me. Like I was like, this is like, it's just so late in the game. Like they could have like there's a scene where Glen Powell is teaching Sydney Sweeney's dad how to swim, and she sees Glen, and it's like, oh, maybe he's actually not a fuckboy. But I just don't understand like why I had to all. Like 6 things were happening at once at the traumatic buoy scene.
Like it feels, I was so frustrated. It feels like you guys are just like one sentence away from solving this whole misunderstanding, but you're stretching it so like you saying like all the wrong thing. Like nobody in real life would act like this. Like right away you'd be like, what? Like you mad at me? Yeah, I'm mad at you because you left, and that's it. But they just stay at like, you're mad at me, I'm mad at you, but they don't say anything about why. And realistically, they both know why. I mean, at least Sydney Sweeney, she know why he would be mad, because she was about to go back when her friend told her, why are you leaving his place in the beginning? So she knows that she's doing something wrong. Like, it's just, I'm supposed to like buy into this?
I think it's like this entire movie, I was thinking like, I understand. These guys are, everyone in this cast is super hot. Like, I get it. Like, this is like the reason they were casted. They're just like hot people. But like, it's almost like a note I wrote down is like, it felt like it was Bridemaids into a rom-com with more nudity and less funny. Like it just felt like they're so close, but they missed it by a mile.
They're so close, but they missed it by a mile. Is a pretty big distance. I did think that the Australian boyfriend was really funny. I really liked him.
Yeah. He played it well.
He really
worked.
Like
a Fabio type, long hair, Greek god. He was just like very funny with his own body. Physical comedy was really good.
Yeah, I really like, and like at some point you see him swimming, and like they probably put him on like something that like he's actually like on a boat or something. Like he's swimming so fast, like it's obviously like ridiculous, but like it's so funny as a visual gag, and I love that. I mean, it's kind of silly, but like he has this joke with his penis. And they actually like show him, and it's like that caught me off guard, because like you don't. It's really rare that like they're just gonna show like make a joke with a penis and just show it, but but it was like done in a way like when he's taking a shower that it was just like I thought it was so funny. Anyway, you don't remember?
I remember. I can't remember what the joke was.
Well, like he's describing like how sand gets everywhere, and then he says something like you meet Amok, and then like Glen Powell is like, what do you mean? And then he keeps like using like Australian term for like dick, and eventually he just squeezes his penis between his hand, and then he says a joke. He says like a new name for it. They actually show it for like a millisecond, and I was like, that's kind of funny, because I was for sure not expecting that. Like, that's not something you expect.
I thought the character in general was really well done because they were trying to compare Glen Powell to this new guy for his ex-girlfriend, and he was somehow more dumb than Glen Powell, but it just extremely funny. Like, there's a scene where he's being introduced. It's like, I brought my boyfriend, and he just jumps like straight up over a tennis like the net. I was like, it's just like a dumb funny like jock. Like, he's hilarious.
It was great because it was really the only funny part for me. Like, everything else was so forgettable. Like, I'm trying to even remember at this point what actually happened, but it feels just a lot of like argument between the two. Obviously they get back together, and I don't know.
I thought, like, I wrote down like a couple things. Like, there was a book that Sydney Sweeney was reading called like Men Were Deceivers Ever or something, which is like it was a weird zoom in on like a book she was reading.
Oh yeah.
And like throughout the movie, I thought like the relationship of GP's best friend and Sydney Sweeney's sister, it was all kind of like happening in the background without you really noticing. And it was almost like the camera was on them and they were acting in the background. And I just felt like, I don't know, for secondary characters, they were like really poorly done. Like, the characters themselves are just so surface level. We don't really get an understanding of like we know that Sydney Sweeney's sister is like a bit of a mess, and Glen Powell's friend is like a super keener who has like always makes sure that like the food is pulled in like a certain area. But like, I wish they went a bit deeper into that relationship, so maybe we can get more out of SS and GP.
Yeah, and I feel like everything was always set up to like work the best way possible for the film, not to be like at some point the dog get the cake on the floor, and then they all get mad at Glen Powell because the dog threw the cake on the floor. But I was like, what? How is that had anything to do with him? Like I understand that it ruined the cake and it's the wedding cake, so it's a big deal. But like, why is Glen Powell like what it has to do anything with him? Like, why are people mad at him now? Also,
messy movie.
Sweeney. Okay, so I want to get your feel on this. Let's transfer into Immaculate. At some point at the beginning of the film, there's a very bad scene where Sydney Sweeney like dropped water on her pants going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then she started like panicking, and then there's supposed to be this funny montage of her trying to dry her pants. A scene that we've seen a million times, done a million times better. And she has this like no moment where like she's saying that like no. And then in Immaculate, at some point in the film, there's a priest. She's pregnant. There's a priest with a scalpel, literally opening her stomach while she's alive, and she does the exact same no please no, like as if getting open to have a baby taken out of you is the same, should like incite the same reaction as dropping water on your pants before meeting a guy. Exact same performance. Yeah. No difference. Same delivery, same words, same everything.
Maybe Sydney Sweeney is seeing Glen Powell as the love of her life, which is just as important as you being almost killed somehow. I just don't know why you would say no in a moment, like both moments. You know, both moments it could just be someone's gonna be walking in on you, like air humping a dryer to like dry down your pants, like just let it happen. It was just so silly.
It was just I think and you can tell, especially in Anyone But You, when the camera was on her, I never believed her. I never, like, even just having a conversation, I could tell that while she was saying the word that she practiced, she was thinking about how she was looking. I could see it. I could see that she was thinking about, okay, I need to have this angle. And you can tell, you look at her and he's like, I'm looking at Sydney Sweeney acting. I'm not looking at the characters. It was so, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's really hard to describe this feeling, but like, I can see the actor. Like she was just, I don't know. Like Glen Powell, I didn't have this problem. Like I didn't see him, but her, it's like I'm sure she's just like, I saw Madame Web first, And I was like, oh, wow, that's a terrible performance. But everyone was bad. So I was like, well, okay. It's just a bad director and a bunch of actors that didn't care. But then I start seeing all the other film. I was like, okay, wait, Sydney Sweeney is just a bad actress.
Like, I will say, I was first exposed to Sydney Sweeney through Euphoria, which is like the HBO Crave show.
Yeah, I never seen that.
Euphoria is like, she does like a fairly decent job in terms of her performance of like a teenager going through the ups and downs of like a crazy high school. But I agree. Like, I think this is more so, look at me, I'm attractive, not look at me, I'm a good actor. Like, the only moment where I believe that, you know, I could believe the acting was when she was hiding the fact that she dropped out of law school. Like, that to me felt like there's like some tense in her where she was like embarrassed to like express that to her parents, but otherwise it was a very poor performance all around.
Yeah, and I guess Anyone But You, like, who cares, right? It's a stupid rom-com. But Immaculate, like, okay, so let's talk about Immaculate. So this is basically a sister or a nun from the US going to Italy to be, that she was invited to go into this, is it a covenant? It's like a
covenant.
Yeah. She was invited, and she thinks it's like her purpose in life because like when she was young, she lost her, no, she didn't lose her parents. She almost died.
Yeah,
she almost died under the ice.
Yeah.
And then she's there. There's like weird stuff, spooky vibes, but she's like, whatever. And then this covenant is also where like old nuns go to die, right? Like this kind of like their last place where like younger nun are taking care of the older one. So like obviously there's a bunch of like weird old nuns. And then there's like a bunch of weirder things that happen. Eventually she gets pregnant, but she never had any sex. So then it's like, oh, it's like the Virgin Mary, like this, she's back. And then people start like almost worshiping her.
Yeah.
And then you learn that it's like a weird scientist priest dude putting babies in people from the blood of Jesus?
Yeah.
Question mark? From the blood they took from a nail that's supposed to be the nail that crucified Jesus. And that's kind of like the premise of this whole thing.
Oh, boy, this one was tough. This one was tough from jump. It was
tough. Why? Because I don't like horror movie. I already said that.
I hate horror movies, but like
Same.
Even just like in the beginning, they really, just like with Anyone But You, really shove down your throats that Sydney Sweeney is like a aesthetically pretty person. Like the Italian cops say, oh, what a waste that she's becoming a nun.
Yeah.
All the creepy nuns talk about like, you're an angel, you're so pretty, blah, blah. And it's just really pushing down your throat that like, even like all the brides of Jesus or whatever, they're like waiting for him. And it was just like, I understand. Actually didn't know the premise going in. I went kind of blind. I saw a trailer and I was like, nope, never gonna watch that horror movie. Same thing. So like, I can understand the premise, and it's really you like, if I put myself in Sydney Sweeney's shoes, like right away, I see like a bunch of creepy nuns. I see a nun with like a red mask mesh thing on her face, and like the crosses in the feet. I'm like, I want to get the fuck out of here. Like, there's so many signs to leave, but like even like the opening scene of that other Italian nun, she was running away because she discovered something, and those mesh face grannies are just like broke her leg and buried her in a box. Like, normally after watching 5 minutes of this, I'd be like, peace out, I wasted $7. It's fine, but we had to persevere. But like, it was just very tough. The storyline was like, it was almost predictable in a sense.
It was, yeah. Look, I never watched any horror film, and I knew every time something was, I was like, okay, like now, like, first of all, like every time there's a jump scare, the music just go away. So it's like, all right, like there's music, there's no music. Like they'll just fade it out, and then weird nuns and like slow motion nuns, and nuns behind drapes and behind sheets, and it like slightly in the dark. The one that kind of worked was like she's doing a confession. And then like the priest just like start like disappearing almost. And I was picturing something coming in front of her, but it came from the back. And I was like, okay, like that was kind of scary. But at the same time, it's just like loud noises, like any loud noises, even if it was like someone walking in the middle of the street, full day, you know, with happy music. If you put a loud noises, you're gonna be surprised. Like, it's not really well executed. It's just like human nature. Like, loud noises make you scared. But
100%.
Yeah, it was predictable in the sense that even though I never watched horror film, I could tell what was about to happen, which means that it has to be the most cliche thing you can have. If even people like us that don't watch horror film are like, this is not gonna happen, and it's probably the next thing's gonna happen, and then this is gonna happen, right?
Yeah, I thought like the imagery of like her being away from Jesus was like pretty well done. Like that exact scene of the confessional, like it was her getting farther and farther away from like the holy light. And I think there was like, what was it? There was like Sydney Sweeney has to be so dumb because she was in a room. That picture of Jesus falls down and says, like, sometimes the devil dresses up as an angel. And she just saw her friend get her tongue cut off. Like, I just don't understand. Like, it's just like, what? Like, I understand this is her mission and she is here to, like, give up herself for the greater good. But, like, literally, all these people are dying around you. That her mentor was trying to drown her. She's like, I'm going to stay here. She jumps... Or they push her off the roof. Yeah. Her face gets absolutely smashed in, and she's like, totally fine. It's just a normal Tuesday.
I don't think she's fine. Like, I think at first they reinforce, like, if you want to be here, you have to be committed. Are you committed? Right? So, like, at first it's like the how proud she is. Not proud. It's kind of pride, where she doesn't want to give up, even though it's kind of, like, weird. So I think that makes sense. And then once it's too late, like, they basically told us what would happen to her if she tried to run, which is like what we saw at the beginning, where like they're not gonna let her leave, right? At some point she fake with like that chicken blood that that she needs to go to the hospital when she's pregnant, and they take her out and she tried to escape that way and it doesn't work. But basically like she's stuck. So like I mean she should have left a lot earlier, or at least attempt to leave. And but like at the same time, I didn't have a problem with this. It felt so by the book. Again, she was not good. Like for someone getting like torture, like Sydney Sweeney is just like no. Like it's just like like she's not screaming for her life. She's just like acting as if someone is like about to drop a cup of water on their floor. Like it's just like it's like the range is not there. I guess the ending is kind of fun. It's the mad scientist putting babies in women to try to like have a reborn Christ or whatever. Like I don't mind that in principle. The ending where like she give birth and she just killed a baby, I guess. I don't know, with a big rock. In my head, I was like, okay. I like the idea that like she give birth. And then she has to make the choice because technically, let's say we believe that it's true that the nail they had is from Jesus, and that it means that like it is some kind of like DNA of Jesus. Like, and she's someone that believe into all of that. So she's not like an atheist, right? Obviously, like our belief are probably shaken by then with everything she's been through. But now she has the baby and it's alive, and she decides to kill it. Like, that was an interesting thing, but, like, it happened in, like, 1 minute. Like, it feels like you could have an entire 10 minutes dilemma here.
Yeah.
What a waste of...
Almost, like, I almost actually would have preferred it if they just, like, shown her, like, lift the rock. It cuts to the baby, and it cuts, like, her holding it. So then we're kind of, like, left in suspense of, is she going to do it or is she not going to do it?
Yeah, that's good.
But to your point, though, like... Just like how they're telling us in Anyone But You, in this movie, and in our next movie, it's like these are all like attractive people. And it's just like even like the priest, the father deacon or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I didn't need to know that he spent 2 dozen years being a scientist and that people weren't really approving his methods. Like no one's going to approve your methods. You're trying to make a freaking baby. Like it's just from a nail. Yeah. So like it's just like I didn't need to know this information. I just need to know that Father Deacon's like a weird dude. But like the last like 20-ish minutes, like I finally felt some excitement, very similar to the movie Get Out. Like last 20 minutes of Get Out was just like violence, and it was just like it's all this like anticipation bottling up and finally pops. Like this was very similar. Like she was finally breaking loose. She smashed that like crazy nun's face in with like a candle something, and she's messing with all these other people. So there was so much buildup, and I was thinking like maybe it can save itself, but because they just almost tell us all the information like verbal diarrhea, it's almost like you told me the punchline before the joke actually finished.
Yeah, like I think it just suffer from like trying too hard to make sure that we understand everything. Especially for a horror film, like you want some like what's happening, right? Like
if someone breaks into your house, you don't actually see the person, you just see your door open, nothing is missing. Like that's terrifying. You don't know what's gonna happen.
I do think it's better than, so we haven't talked about rating, but Anyone But You for me was a 2-star, and it's a big burn.
Yeah, I think I gave it 2.5, also a big burn.
And I think this one, I gave it a 2, but I think it's better than Anyone But You personally. I would never rewatch any of those films, but Anyone But You, like the acting of Sydney Sweeney was just unbearable, and Glen Powell was not great either. But like it was just like it was frustrating me how bad everything was and how stupid the movie thought I was. Versus at least Immaculate. Right. I don't watch horror film, and maybe that's why. But I feel like even like so I've heard about this film from big horror fan that were saying like that's the best horror film of the year. Like here we go, and I heard that about The First Omen as well. But I was like never watching that, kind of same thing as you. But like the fact that horror fan love this, I assume it's because it's mostly like appealing to like the horror aspect, like gore and smashing people's head, and maybe that's what they're looking for. But to me at least, it's visually like has a cool style. There's some cool like cinematography, like there's some cool images, like you said, a bit more like of an art full approach. Like it's closer to art than a product. Anyone But You feel like a product.
Yeah, I will agree with your point that Immaculate was better than Anyone But You, because there's a bit of there was still some surprises in the predictability. So I will agree. Immaculate over Anyone But You, but 2 stars for me.
I understand why I wouldn't, if you put Anyone But You on, I wouldn't turn it off, because whatever.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, but also it's like, it's background stuff, right? Anyway, like Madame Web.
Oh, man.
I mean, the story is kind of whatever, right? It's just kind of Spider-Man, but it's a woman instead of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like it's a, I mean,
yeah.
Do you know anything about Madame Web except what you know from the film?
Like there's so much deep lore. As like I love Spider-Man growing up. There's a Spider-Man 1990 show, like The Amazing Spider-Man or something like that. And Madame Web is like in like a wheelchair. She's almost like your Professor X. She's in a wheelchair. Yeah. She's blind. She's got, they mention her disease in the movie. It's like meniscia grava, which is a single target nuclear. But I wrote all this down. You're right. But she's blind. She has like the clairvoyance where she could see everything. So there's a lot of history that they could have pulled upon, but it just felt like they were pulling at straws.
So I didn't know any of this. And I know I'm going to jump all right to the end, but when we saw her in a wheelchair with the glasses on, I thought it was a joke. I thought the movie was about to make a joke about the character was about to make a joke and like make a reference to X-Men. And I don't know X-Men that well, but like I think like X is the dude in a wheelchair. And I thought that she would like take them off, stand up, and being like a joke about the fact that she can see the future. And like, I'm Professor X now. Like, I thought it looked so ridiculous. I was like, there's no way this is actually something I'm supposed to take seriously. So I was waiting for the joke. And it's like, no, that's actually like, we are supposed to believe that that's her now.
There's so much. It just like I think they're trying to like they should be in the same universe. Some like funny backstory is that who's the actress who plays Madame Web? What's her name?
Rebecca something. Wait.
No, it's
Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson. Yeah, Dakota. Dakota Johnson thought she was actually in like the Marvel universe, that this was all connected, but this is actually independent because it's Sony doing it. So in like her press tours, like she was like super bummed, not enthusiastic at all. Almost she knew that this was a bad movie. So her knowing that this isn't connected to the Marvel universe was like an extreme letdown to everybody. So I thought too it was like a funny homage to Charles Xavier, which is Professor
X,
or I can't even remember right now, but I thought it was an homage to that, but it did feel super weird and extremely corny, like a B version of a Marvel film.
And then like she's like Gesundheit, and then like the person she's like, I didn't sneeze, and then she sneezed. And I was like, are we serious right now? Is this whole movie not just bad acting? Like, I don't give a shit about my career acting, and so much like. Literally, some line delivery are like something you would hear on like Love Island. Everybody, all the 4 girls were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it," or like it's about to get crazy. Oh, it's not crazy right now. Everybody was talking with this weird like, "Oh my god, you," and
it was very like Valley Girl, right?
Yeah, and I was like, "How is this real?" And oh my god, like it's so disjointed. Nothing makes sense. The villain. Yeah. So the villain kind of kill Madame Web mother to get a spider, which give him power. And then those power make him see the 3 young teenager. They're supposed to be teenager, but they look like they're like 29, whatever. But they're supposed to be like 16, I guess, because they're like in high school or whatever.
Yeah.
He see them in a dream, and then he draw their faces, and then he steal access to the NSA database from a girl that he pick up and then sleep with, and then he steal our access to the database and kill her. Then hire someone from drawing to do matching of people he's seen in this dream to find them in New York City. Also, I don't know how he knows that they're in New York City. And also, this movie is happening in the early 2000s, in like 2008, right? Because there's a bunch of reference to like, it's all set in the 2000s. So 2000 level camera surveillance with drawing from dreams, facial recognition, and he's able to find them. How is any of this make sense?
Also, he says like he's had this dream every single day for like God knows how long, because when he kills the mother, that was like in the 70s or whatever, right? Spider bites them, he gets these powers, so he's dreaming about them every day. You wait till they're 16, like why don't just kill them earlier? And
because you can't drive baby
like
face. Baby face all look the same then. There's no facial recognition that can like focus a round face of a baby with another one.
There's no AI yet. AI hasn't been introduced. There's no chat.
It's the 2000s.
It's the 2000s, but it's just so silly. It just, Madame Web was like, why are you doing this? It's like, well, if you see 3 people killing you every single day for your entire life, then you do something about it. I was just like, why? Why wait till they're all together? Why couldn't you wait like 1 more week and then figure something out?
The way that she gets her power, where she I guess she jumped into the water and she kind of died for a couple of minutes, I guess. Like, is that how she died, I guess? And then she now can see in the future, and then we have a bunch of those scenes where like she's reliving the same thing a couple times, but like nothing.
So when the mom's in Peru, right, she gets like stabbed or shot by Peru spider, like bad guy. Mm-hmm. Peru Spider-Man comes, puts her in like a fountain or whatever. A spider bites him and cures
the baby
her enough to have the baby. So the baby has the powers in her. But I wrote this down, so stupid. These spiders can like cure everything, like almost bringing someone back from death. If Spider-Man wants to save the world, give these spiders to science. They can like cure cancer. Like, it just like.
But I think that's why she was
like
there. The mom, right? The mom was there to like get the spider for good, but like he wanted to. The bad guy wanted him for him.
But it seems like there's more than one miraculous spider there, because like there's pictures or images where there's like tons of spiders like around like this like super powerful fountain thing.
They're hard to find. Then when the mom goes, it takes her weeks to find them. But then when Dakota Johnson, when Madame Web go back, she just buy a plane tickets. She has a backpack, no equipment, and then she find the spider people within like a day. She doesn't even look like she's hiking for more than like a couple hours, and then the spider people just show up. Hey, you find us. Now we're gonna tell you everything about your power. We're just gonna tell you everything you need to know, so you can just go back. Just a backpack on the plane. She just buy her tickets to the forest, I guess, and just the spider guy is just there waiting for her. It's like, yeah, come. Well, I'll explain to you everything now.
I told your mom I'd be waiting here for my entire life for this exact moment. And also, like, there's a moment where the mom's with the doctor, and the doctor's like, you're gonna die, or like there's a spot, like there's some genetic disease.
Yeah.
And like, are we to believe that the mom was studying spiders this entire time, and then she landed on this one specific spider that's gonna cure everything? It was just almost like, here are problems, let's find like the easiest solution. And it was like, even like the villain telling Madame Web that like, my purpose is to kill these 3 girls. Just shut up. Like, you don't have to tell Madame Web that you're here to kill them. Just shut up. Do your business. You've invested technology or whatever. Like, it was so hard to get all this technology, and all you had to do was like sleep with an NSA woman, then kill her with your mysterious poison thing that's not really explained. And then somehow by killing her, they get access to everything.
Yeah.
Like,
She had access to everything.
Like the NSA. Yeah, it was in her car. All that machinery was in her car.
And even though she died, the FBI and the government doesn't remove access to her, right? Like, this person died, she's not coming back to work, but they just let her have access. Like, well, whatever, whoever find her body can just have access to all our stuff. Like, there's no any other protection. If someone that worked for the NSA with all this power, all this access die, it's just like, well, we'll just hire someone else and, not discontinue access.
Maybe it was before, like, they cracked down on password sharing, so they could have up to 5 people, with their NSA passwords.
They have one password for everyone. It's like, everyone use the same email here. No. Oh, man. Also, the audacity to, like, They took the whole with great power come great responsibility, and they flipped it, and then they had this whole with responsibilities come with responsibilities come great power. It doesn't even make sense.
It was something super bad.
It's just switching the sentence around. That's it. Dude, and okay, so there's also, is it me or there's a lot of voiceover where, like, I don't know if either, like, there was a mic that didn't work when they record the film for real, and then they had to redo the take in studio. But there's a lot of, like, dialogue where, like, it's like, there's no way this was recording on set. They had someone re-record all their line because the villain, especially, all his line sounds super weird. Because, like, his lips were saying one thing, and you can tell, like, he was saying something totally different.
100%. There's a couple scenes like that, even when the girls are talking and their lips are moving too fast. I just don't know how you can screw up that bad. Like, if it's like Sony, you should just, like, reshoot the thing. Yeah. But it almost felt like he was speaking Spanish, and they were just doing voiceover in English.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, there was a lot of bad stuff. Like, just the action looked terrible. Like, you couldn't understand what was happening. The diner scene, it's like the camera was moving a million way, but, like, it was breaking a bunch of, like, angle rules that, like, makes it super confusing.
A lot of, like, flashbacks, or, like, even near the end of the scene where they're fighting the villain on, like, that huge sign.
Pepsi
and, like,
sign.
parts of her are, like, yeah, Pepsi sign. And, like, she's creating, like, her own web of versions of self to, like, help the 3 girls. One, the CGI was absolutely horrendous.
Yes.
The second one, there was one girl who's like that rich girl. My parents are in in China, and they don't care about me or whatever. So she's hanging on, like, one of the letters. The other 2 girls are helped by, like, Madame Web pulling her up. To her, the help was, "You're gonna be okay."
Yeah, that's it, right?
Like, I was like, why don't you just split your third one to kick the bad Spider-Man's ass? Like, this person, you don't have to, like, but hey, also, hang in there, kitty.
She's doing those things in alternate reality. But if there's only one reality, so even if she saves someone in an alternate reality, it doesn't actually happen except if she she makes that the real reality. So if she splits herself 3 times, 2 of those girls are dying. It doesn't make sense. You can't just
makes no sense.
Have 3 reality that comes back into 1 just because you feel like it.
Yeah, it was very loose because they were saying like you can be in multiple places at one time, but like it was very
in the sense that like you can see 3 reality and then make a decision based on that, which it's how like clairvoyance normally work.
Right. Yeah, it was very like there's a scene when they're in the warehouse where like to get away from
that was
bad
so
Spider-Man
dumb. With the fireworks.
They had flares, like all these like somehow a firework was able to break through like a brick wall,
make a perfect square for them to fit through. Like how was she supposed to know that would work? The whole plan was relying on that. If that didn't work, the whole building would have came apart because before like at the beginning of the movie, like she goes there because she working on an ambulance. She's like a first responder, and then she learned that like this building is dangerous, and that's the whole reason why they go there. But like it seems like such a terrible plan.
Oh yeah, like the one thing I also wrote down is like, so she's like clairvoyant. So
yes.
Like shouldn't she know like in the future what she looks like? So she's like, okay, I'm gonna become a decrepit woman in a wheelchair and I'm gonna be blind. So there's a scene where she's in the water, right? They kill Bad Spider-Man. She's in the water, and like somehow she's like probably like 15 or 20 feet deep in the water right now. A fireball comes straight in, still on fire, hits her right in the face, blind. And I was just like, how does it not like the water should
face.
Engulf? Yeah, the water should like stop like the flame, and it should just be like a little gash on your face, maybe.
How are you not just like fully demolished?
Oh, completely. It would just, your face would be just like encapsulated in.
It just make you blind.
But it somehow the flares just made her blind. And then when the 3 girls were doing CP on her after training her in that hotel room, which is
it was terrible, super awkward.
Oh my god! I was like, why is this happening?
It goes on for so
teenagers.
long. Like...
Oh my god! But they do CPR on her. She's awoken. Her eyes are all gray and fucked up, and they're like, she's fine. Guys, she's gonna be okay.
We saved her. Oh my god.
Oh
also,
boy.
The number of times that the solution is just like take your car and run into someone. Like 4 or 5 times she just like ran a car or a truck into, and it's solved. At some point the villains is attacking the 3 girls, and she's steal a truck, or she's in a truck, and then she decides to go into a parking lot, and she's on the 2nd floor parking lot, and she goes through a billboard, and she knew exactly that the villain will be exactly there at that moment. So when she goes through the billboard, she's actually hitting the villains. But it's like, how many of those like coincidence, or I guess it's clairvoyance or whatever, that like allow her to do that? But I was like, it's just so, everything is so convenient.
Like that ambulance has come from so far. Like you're telling me Peruvian Spider-Man, Bad Spider-Man can't just like move like 2 steps? Like if he just moves, he kills everyone in the car.
Because can't he also see in the future? If he can see the tree girl in his dream, isn't he clairvoyant as well? He's been bitten by the same spider.
Yeah, maybe it's just like there's different spiders for different days, and you get some powers. Like I don't understand like why Madame Web or Dakota Johnson has this like clairvoyance power, but she's not like super jacked or strong, even though like it makes it almost think that she's super strong, because when she's like, she picks up like a random scrap piece of metal on the floor when she's on like that building, and she like deflects like the fireworks. I was like
Wonder Woman.
I was like, are you super strong? Like, did you get shitty powers because your mom got bit and then you got like shitty powers? Like, I just don't understand. Like they should all be the same, I assume, but it's just so loose. Like, and those 3 girls, when they become Spider Women, they all have different powers as well.
Yeah. Also, how are they becoming Spider Woman?
It's super vague.
Because they didn't get bit by the spider.
like yet. I think
Oh,
like the whole
okay.
thing is like they haven't yet.
Well,
because
it's never gonna happen. This movie bombed like go crazy.
oh, so hard. Like, it's almost funny how bad it was, right? Like this is like it's. I wouldn't classify it as like a good bad movie, but
almost. I think you could have a good time.
It's
with a couple of friends.
Like I'm sure a good drinking game can be made out of this.
Oh my
god,
but dude, when Dakota, whatever her name is, goes to this birthday party or whatever, and then there's this game happening that people are supposed to write something, and then she puts a piece of paper with nothing on it in the basket. And then it's supposed to be like, tell us something about your mother. So instead of just keeping the paper and not putting it in, she puts an empty paper on. And then someone is like, oh, someone didn't put anything. And she's like, oh yeah, it's me. It's because my mom died when she gave birth to me. It's like, how like inept socially are you? Like if like and she act like all like I can't believe you asked me about my mother kind of like vibe. Like you're the one that put the paper in, and then you're the one volunteering this information. You could have just said I didn't know what to write. That's it. Or just don't put the paper.
Or like fake it. Like my mom like called me this because of that. Like you don't just. It was just so tone deaf, and I think it wanted us to see that Madame Web was extremely like not only introverted but like antisocial, and you can almost see it with like, oh, I don't want to. At the beginning of the scene, they save like the mom or something. There's a little girl who wants to give her like a picture of her, and she's like, oh, like it's okay, I don't want to like take your picture. So it makes her seem like she's really bad with kids. And like in the like the first half of this movie, it's like, I don't know what to do with these three girls, and she pawns them off to Ben Parker, her like Adam Scott.
Yeah,
dude, he's such a good actor everywhere else. He was so terrible in this. I just don't understand the monotone acting.
And I thought they had a flirting thing happening, and then no, actually, it's just they're just friend, I guess. At the beginning, when they're eating Chinese food, I was like, are they falling in love? Like, what's happening between the two of them? And it's like, oh no, actually, he's dating someone else, and she's happy with him. So then she's like, oh well, I'm happy for you. And it sounds like they used to date, and they work together. So now she has to be happy for him that he has someone new. I was like, it's so confusing, the vibe here. I have no idea what their relationship is.
Because Ben Parker and like
Uncle Ben,
Uncle Ben, and Emma Roberts is, I think, playing Mary Jane, so like Peter Parker's like normal like girlfriend.
Okay.
But I think this is like an alternate universe where Ben Parker is actually Peter or something, but it was super weird. So like when she pawns him off to Ben Parker, they're on the car together, they're like, ew, her water broke, and I was just like, ah, fuck. Like these are, I understand they're teenagers, but like you know, like have some like empathy. Like you're like trying to save each other, but you're really pushing it down our throats. So like, I'm a teenager, I like to skateboard, and like I'm like super nerdy, and I was an Eagle Scout. Like I do not care.
Dude, Sydney Sweeney trying to be like dropping like math knowledge in the middle, like randomly, just because, oh, I'm the smart one. So because I'm the smart character, I should just be dropping math stuff without any context and like saying like math is cool. I like math. It's like, how forced down your throat. It's just like, oh yeah, she's the smart person. Do you get it? She just said something about math. It's like, oh my God.
I'm trying to guess. So like, if Sydney Sweeney is supposed to be the smart one, the girl from her parents are in China is like the badass. She skateboards, she stays out late.
Yeah, she's the one that flip off like the ambulance, and it's like, who's flip off an ambulance?
But I think like the other one, she's also plays Dora the Explorer, and she's been in a bunch of other movies. She's like,
I can't even remember
the
what she
nice
looked
one.
like. Oh yeah,
she's
the Hispanic girl that live in her building.
Yeah, and her dad was deported, so she doesn't want to get caught because she's technically not a citizen yet. Like, I just don't understand what her angle was. Like, she's just like a good person.
She's just like yeah. I think she's just the average person. Yeah, it's true. She has no personality. At least the other two have like
nothing.
A thing. Even though it's like the only thing they have for the entire film.
I think this was just like a how do we address all markets in one go?
Yes, because we have a white main character, so we need to diversify after that.
Dakota, sorry, your name's Dakota Johnson. That's like the whitest name ever.
You could be a cowboy, man.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Oh boy.
The scene where she's like, "How would you know that you can climb on wall if you never try?" And then she like, there's that moment you can tell that they really wanted that moment. And then she like go on the wall and then she just fall and she's like, well, that didn't work or something. But like the performance was so bad. I'm sure it was like, okay, let's do one shot and okay, that's it. Like wrap it up. Like that's the shot we wanted. We have her like trying to jump on, and it's like barely like no energy, just like, huh. Oh, okay, that didn't work.
I don't think there's any point in this film where I'm like investing myself into Madame Web and like I'm like super fascinated with this storyline that I want to see how like her webs connect with the other spiders. Like in the comics or like in this cartoon version that I was referencing earlier in this pod was she could connect with different spider, like different Peter Parkers from across different worlds and like bring them together and stuff. But I want to get myself so far away from this. Like this is truly like a one and done, and I pray that no studio tries to reinvent this.
I don't think they will, but yeah, even if it was a good story, it's just like the performance, everything just sucks. It's just like nobody gave a shit. Like no one. Like Dakota should be like the main person that do give a shit, but like you said, like even in the interview, like she's like really like fuck this film. Like she's gonna hate that she did this film. Like everyone should like I'm sure is ashamed and should be ashamed because it's terrible. But they should be ashamed because they didn't give a shit.
Oh yeah, no effort was given. I feel like they all like gave up like day one of filming. They're like, oh, this isn't actually connected to the massive like cash cow that is the Marvel universe. Like I'm just gonna do this to like get a paycheck.
Because
like,
the villain
has to be like
kind of tried.
Yeah.
It was bad.
The villain.
I think this is the worst one of the three for me, for sure.
Oh yeah.
1 star. What did you give it? 1 star?
1 star. I just don't know. I don't know what Sony is doing to not be able to like replicate like the success cow that is Spider-Man. So it's, you know, I'll probably watch Craven because I'm just curious, but
I'm
expecting
Day.
like Madame Web. That's exactly what I want to
Christmas
watch.
gift.
Screw the family. I'm gonna watch Craven for 2.5 hours.
So 1 star, 1 star, burn, I assume. So a triple burn for Sydney Sweeney.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna close this now. Thank you everyone for joining us. Follow us, find us everywhere, podcast, blah blah. Whatever you're listening to us now, which means that you probably are able to find us. I would assume that would make sense. And Dan is on Instagram. He's hard to find, so have fun finding him. I'm findable on Instagram and everywhere. Find us, have fun, have a good weekend. We'll see you in the next episode.
Take care.
Cheers.